Hello friends, I am Arpit and I am here with today's analysis. Today is 25th of February and we are going to cover two very important topics which are in news. The fair and remunerative price of sugarcane. The government of India has increased the FRP on sugarcane from 315 rupees per quintal to 340 rupees per quintal. This increase might have brought some cheer to the farmers, particularly in the states of UP and Maharashtra, the two largest sugarcane producing states in the country. Is it different from MSP? Yes, it is different from MSP. Sugarcane has a very low shelf life, so in order to protect the farmers, FRP is that price which the mill owners, the sugar mill owners have to pay to the farmers on purchase of all of their sugarcane produce. They cannot purchase below this price or beyond this price. However, price fluctuations happen in MSP, means a farmer can sell beyond MSP in the open market, but in the case of sugarcane, the farmer cannot. Apart from it, MSP is not applicable to the entire produce, whereas FRP is applicable to the entire produce. So these two things we need to understand as the differences between MSP and FRP. Next is the Russia-Ukraine war, 2 years and still counting. February 24, 2022 was the time when this war started. And at that time, it was being perceived that Russia will finish this war in a few months and Ukraine will fall under Russia's control. But it is not the case. Ukraine is standing strong, fighting 2 years down the line till this date. However, presently the momentum is with Russia because Ukraine is facing lack of manpower, lack of arms and ammunitions. On top of that, USA's withdrawal of support, if it happens after the general elections in USA, then it can be problematic for Ukraine. So let's see how this unfolds. Now, fair and remunerative price for sugarcane. So FRP, that is fair and remunerative price for sugarcane, has increased from earlier that was 315 rupees per quintal to 340 rupees per quintal. The announcement is a significant one, especially for the farmers of two states, Uttar Pradesh and Maharashtra. The two biggest sugarcane growing states, which are also among the states with the maximum number of Lok Sabha seats. Elections round the corner. Now, whatever news we cover from now onwards, since general elections are happening, so definitely we will be viewing all the events or the events which are obviously possible from the lens of elections also. Because the year when general election happens, in that year UPSC also asks questions related to elections. Because it is you, the civil servants, who are responsible for conducting the free and fair elections in the country. If you'll be the DM, you will be the returning officer of your district. Your responsibility will be to conduct free and fair elections. So all those, I would say, very important points with respect to elections, definitely we will be covering them. What is fair and remunerative price, FRP? We need to understand this. So first of all, this price is released by or decided by the Centre's Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs, CCEA. Basically, CCEA decides MSP also. It is deciding FRP also, fair and remunerative price. Now, the decision of CCEA is based on the recommendations of another committee, that is CACP, Commission for Agricultural Costs and Prices. So, there is no difference in announcing or determining the method of announcing and the method of determining both of these, MSP and FRA. They are all the same. CCA is involved and CACP is involved in MSP also, Same as in FRP, CCEA and CACP is involved. So CCEA takes these decisions from CACP, that is Commission for Agricultural Costs and Production. Price. Now, who is part of this CCEA? Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs. Prime Minister, he chairs this. The Defense Minister, the Home Minister, Finance Minister, Agriculture and Farmers Welfare Minister, and some other senior ministers. Since it is Cabinet Committee, the Cabinet members or Cabinet Ministers will be definitely part of this. How is FRP paid to the farmers? Now, the farmer takes his sugarcane, to the mill. Now, this mill owner will pay FRP, Fair and Remunerative Price. And there is a legal obligation on the mill owner to pay the FRP within 14 days from the sale of sugarcane to the mills by the farmer. There is also a threat of action by cane commissioners in case of failure to clear the FRP dues within 14 days of the cane being sold by the farmers. Non-clearance can lead to the attachment of mill properties as arrears of land revenue. So there's this pressure on the mill owners, sugar mill owners, that they have to pay and they have to clear the dues within 14 days. If they don't do, then punishments are there. Now, what is MSP? We need to understand this as well. MSPs serve as a basic guaranteed payment for farmers given the various vulnerabilities involved in agriculture. What are the kind of vulnerabilities involved? Like unfavorable weather conditions are there due to which productivity is less or crop loss is more. In such scenarios, fluctuations in production could lead to price changes because production is less, productivity is less, supply is less, prices can go up. Or if supply is too much, prices may come down. So that minimum threshold the government provides to the farmers, that prices will not fall below this point. If they start falling below this point, we will purchase at MSP from you. This is what the government tells the farmers. The price is this open market price, which starts falling below the MSP, the government will purchase at MSP. Now in the present farmers protest, the farmers are demanding guaranteed MSP. Guaranteed MSP means that the government should procure all the food crops of all the farmers at this price. If the prices start falling below that MSP, open market prices start falling below that MSP. Now, in this scenario, the government is basically of this viewpoint that the government can be hijacked at times because open market forces, if any supply of any product is more, the open market forces, they will be, lowering down the prices. Then there will be this obligation on the government to procure all that food crop on MSP from the farmers, from all the farmers. This is what they are wanting. But what will the government do of that much procurement? That is a big question. So, the government needs to make arrangements for that. Now, this is there. In such scenarios, fluctuations in productions could lead to price changes, shortages of food items for consumers, and lack of income for the farmers. That can also happen. To address this, the government announces the MSP every year for certain crops. There are 23 crops for which the government announces MSP every year. Now, it is the price at which the government is supposed to procure or buy that crops from the farmers if the market price falls below it. See, we need to understand this thing that government needs food grains for its Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana or National Food Security Act because they have been merged right now. For that, government will procure its requirements. Apart from that, if the market prices start falling below MSP, then it becomes mandatory on the government to procure from the farmers, to safeguard the farmers. And that too, the government will not procure from all the farmers and not the entire crop of the farmers. This is what the guarantee they are seeking from all the farmers, and the entire crop should be procured by the government if the market prices start falling below the MSP. If the market prices are above MSP, then farmers definitely will be selling in the open market because they're getting a better price over there. So this needs to be understood with respect to MSP. Factors considered while deciding MSP: the demand and supply of a commodity, how it is, cost of production. Generally, the government has set a target of 1.5 times. Let's suppose 100 is the cost of production. So 150 rupees will be the MSP. 50% profit the government is aiming to give to the farmers. The market price trends, both domestic and international, that is also taken into consideration. Intercrop price parity means, like rabi crops, multiple rabi crops are there. Wheat is there, or multiple this is there, pulses are there. So price parity will be maintained by the government, so that if the government focuses on exceeding the MSP of one particular crop, farmers will be going for growing that crop only and will neglect this crop. So this price parity will motivate the farmers or give farmers the choices that whichever crop is best suited for you, you grow that crop, government will be giving you MSP for that. The price parity should be there. The terms of trade between agriculture and non-agriculture, that is the ratio of prices of farm inputs and farm outputs, that should be considered. A minimum of 50% as the margin over the cost of production, as I told you this 1.5 times. The likely implications of an MSP on consumers of that product. We the people who are consuming that product, if the government raises the MSP, definitely food prices will rise in the open market. It can lead to food inflation, so the government has to take care of this also. It should not be like going on increasing MSP and increasing MSP, because it will definitely lead to food inflation and impact the Aam Aadmi who is going for procuring that food. So this is what all the factors which are considered by the government. Now, what is FRP and MSP's applicability for sugarcane? Before this, you need to understand one more thing, that we now know that FRP is that price at which the government procures, or basically the mill owners procure sugarcane from the farmers. Sugarcane, which is grown in the fields. Now, whenever the government announces FRP, it is based on the recovery of sugar from the cane. Now, cane comes to the mills. The cane should be of good quality. So, recently the government has said that 340 rupees per quintal will be the FRP. That is incomplete information which I gave you. Now, in order to better understand this, complete information you should know. 340 rupees per quintal at a recovery of 10.25%. What is this recovery of 10.25%? Let's suppose 100 kg of cane is given by me to the mill owners. From that 100 kg cane, sugar cane, at least 10.25 kg sugar should be recovered. 10.25 kg sugar should be recovered. There should be so much, I would say, juice in my cane, or my cane should be of this much quality at least ki if I am submitting 100 kgs of cane, at least 10.25 kg of sugar is produced from it. So rupees 340 per quintal at a recovery of 10.25%. If 10.25% is there, 340 rupees per quintal will be paid. Now with each increase of recovery by 0.1%, farmers will get an additional price of 3.32 rupees, while the same amount will be deducted on reduction of recovery by 0.1%. Now, if it reduces, FRP will reduce for the farmers. if it increases, if the cane is of good quality and giving more than 10.25%, so for every 0.1% increase, rupees 3.32 rupees will be given to the farmers, additional of 340 rupees. If it reduces it, this rupees 3.32% will be reduced. There are technologies to measure by analyzing the cane that how much will be recovered from it. So this is what we need to understand, and we needed to understand before going into this slide, that FRP and MSP applicability for sugarcane. Actually, you should be knowing this, that both of these are applicable to sugar. Yes, don't get confused. Now the confusion has to be dispelled. Farmer brings cane to the mill. These mills have to pay FRP to the farmers. This FRP has to be paid within 14 days. If it is not paid, then the mill owners will face certain consequences. These mill owners, they produce sugar. Take sugar out of the sugarcane. This is what a mill does. And these people should also have some guarantee that their sugar will be procured. That guarantee is given by MSP. In the year 2018, government introduced MSP for sugar for the first time. That is why I am saying that FRP, Fair and Remunerative Price, as well as MSP, both are applicable. But FRP is applicable on the cane, MSP is applicable on the refined sugar. So sugar cane has a very short shelf life. This cane, the responsibility of procurement of cane is on the sugar mills that are mandatorily expected to pay the FRP on purchase upfront. Other crops that are under the MSP can be sold at prices higher than the MSP. But this cane will be sold at FRP, and the entire cane will be sold at FRP. Okay. However, with regard to sugarcane, the absence of shelf life prompts them to sell their produce at any price prevailing in the cane crushing season, irrespective of demand and supply. Now, if FRP will not be there, the mill owners can act smart. They will wait. They will wait for the frustration in the farmers to increase, and farmers will have no choice because shelf life is very low of sugarcane. They will have no choice, and then they will be selling their cane at lower prices. The profit will be accumulated by the mill owners. So to nullify this situation, FRP was introduced. The farmers should get their dues and their, I would say, legitimate dues. The central government introduced MSP for sugar in 2018. So these mill owners who have to pay the FRP mandatorily to the farmers, they will also be secured. They should also be secured that they will be getting the payments. Then only they will be disbursing. So that has to be very swift because the margin is only of 14 days. So this is what the scenario with respect to sugarcane and sugar is. So we should be knowing the differences between FRP and MSP. First of all, FRP is on sugarcane. The mill owners pay to the farmers. Entire produce of the farmers can be picked up by the mill owners at FRP. Whereas MSP is that minimum guarantee which is given by the government to the farmers if the market prices fall below the MSP. Then the government goes for purchasing it. That also the government does not entirely purchase the crop of the farmers. Here entire purchase is there in FRP. Next is Russia-Ukraine war, 2 years and still continuing it is. So February 24, 2022 was the year when, or was the time when this Russia-Ukraine war started. So 2 years completed. Now this war or this fighting has displaced millions of Ukrainians, altered geopolitical landscape of Europe, hit economies around the world, developed, developing, underdeveloped. Supply chain disruptions have been there, adding to inflation and triggering great economic uncertainty. All these have been there with this war, and these are obviously some of grave concerns. Now, how does this war stand today? Now, actually, when this war started, so there were predictions that Kyiv, that is the capital city of Ukraine, will fall within 2 or 3 months. Means Russia will occupy Ukraine, the entire Ukraine. But Ukrainian forces and people, they have stood by and they are fighting bravely. 2 years down the line, we are discussing this. Although they have got support from the Western countries, particularly USA. But yes, the credit for fighting and facing the Russians goes to them. Presently, they are more, I would say, exhausted. There is lack of manpower with them now. And there is lack of, I would say, arms and ammunitions also, which the Ukraine is experiencing. So presently, the momentum is with Russia. And Russia has, adopted new and new techniques. Russia in the very beginning understood this thing, that this war is going to get elongated because of the nature of response it was receiving from Ukraine. For example, drone attacks and all Ukraine was doing. So it held its nerve, developed strategies and ways to deal with this new war which Ukraine was waging on them. And now they are able to protect themselves in a better way. And then they are launching this offensive now. So there is this thing that momentum rests with Russia. Ukraine forces are feeling an acute shortage of equipment and manpower presently, and fatigue also, war fatigue it is called as. Now, Russian forces may be also facing war fatigue, but the number of soldiers which Russia has is way more than what Ukraine has. The amount of destruction which Ukraine is experiencing, Russia is not experiencing that amount of destruction, which gives a psychological edge to Russia over Ukraine. So this is there. Now, what is the impact on NATO and militarization? Now, why this question is there? Because presidential candidate in the US elections, Mr. Donald Trump, who happens to be the ex-president also of USA, clearly stated that his funding to NATO is going to reduce because NATO is of no use as of now. This was a clear-cut comment given by that person, means a candidate for presidential elections this year, Mr. Donald Trump. And obviously that statement came from him due to this war, which has got elongated. Now, generally, there is no such immediate challenge to the NATO or this transatlantic framework, which it is. If anything, NATO has been strengthened by Russia's actions. Now, Ukraine wanted to become part of NATO, and that is what triggered this war. One of the reasons for triggering this war was this. So, NATO has strengthened itself, like particularly countries like Finland or Sweden joining it after the 2022 war began. Ukraine has not joined it. But yes, more and more borders or more and more in the vicinity of Russia, NATO countries are present now, with the inclusion of countries like Finland and Sweden. So one definite consequence of this war is going to be greater militarization of Europe and other NATO countries. Countries across the continent will spend more on defense, and there will be a strong military security aspect to Europe in the near future. Because, if Russia can do this today with Ukraine, it can do it tomorrow with them as well. That is why militarization is going to increase in Europe. This is very interesting. How has Israel and Hamas war impacted Russia-Ukraine war? 2022 February, this started. October 2023, the Israel-Hamas conflict started. How it will impact? Will it have any connection? These two geopolitical conflicts, these are the two geopolitical conflicts the world is facing right now. So this Gaza conflict has taken, first of all, the attention away from Russia-Ukraine war. Second of all, think about America, which is very actively involved in this Israel-Gaza standoff. So, and it has also been supporting Ukraine. So, resources of America is being diverted in these two places right now. Obviously, draining of resources do happen. And the stature at which USA is right now definitely has this responsibility also. So this, two openings or these two geopolitical conflicts with the active involvement of USA is draining the resources of USA at double the pace, which is giving more and more, I would say, confidence to or momentum to countries like China, or even that, for that matter, countries like Russia. So we need to understand this from this viewpoint. This stretching US capacities, because US has to now effectively fight on two fronts. US does not have to prove anything, but there is a perception that it is coming under stress. The result might be that statement coming from Donald Trump that we are going to reduce funding for the NATO. So from that perspective, Ukraine's anxiety can grow, because if the funding stops from USA to Ukraine, then this might create a lot of problem for Ukraine, and this funding might reduce or stop due to this Israel-Hamas conflict where USA is directly involved. So in terms of military aspect of Ukraine war, the other conflict in Gaza has not had any significant impact, but yes, this connection that USA focused on two fronts now, might reduce funding on that, Ukraine front, which can increase Ukraine's anxiety. Now, what this conflict has, or how this conflict has impacted India. Now, first of all, India deserves praise for taking a very balanced position. We've increased, or we have, I would say, improved our relations with Russia since 2022, and we have improved our relations with the West also. That is something which we should be proud of. Very recently, S. Jaishankar was questioned in a public meeting where a minister from USA was sitting, and one minister from Europe was also sitting. So this question was posed to him, and the interviewer asked that India has been able to manage this situation. So he said that I don't get this point, that whether you are criticizing us or praising us. According to us, it should be a matter of praise that we have been able to strategically handle this situation. And I don't think so USA has a problem if India is importing oil from Russia, and Russia is the largest supplier of oil to India. It is in our national interest, and USA has upheld its national interest multiple times in history. He said that good partners give choices. Smart partners take those choices. And the best partners, they don't have a problem with the choices which their partners are getting. And we think that our partnership with USA is lying in the third category. So very smart answer it was. But yes, this has been standpoint. Now, India deserves praise for taking a very balanced position, and it is obviously not easy to take this balanced position, because we have been criticized time and again that India is into supporting Russia. We got access to cheap Russian oil, which the Russians sold to India in large quantities, and oil is a very important commodity for us because 90% of our oil is imported, and everywhere all across the world the global oil prices were high, and if oil prices go high, everything is, I would say, impacted. So this step definitely saved our economy, and that is why we are the world's fastest growing economy right now. India has also managed to maintain fairly good links on both sides. Both sides means on the sides of Russia and on the sides of the developed West also. We were able to get Indian students out of Ukraine safely, and recently there have been visits by Ukrainian ministers to India also. So this is what India is playing, how India is playing. Now, impact on China. Now, in the recently concluded Raisina dialogue, Mr. S. Jaishankar gave one comment that this condemnation of Russia by the West, continued condemnation of Russia by the West, and not willing to listen to Russia is increasing the Russia-China nexus, which the West should understand is more detrimental for them. Actually, China, after this war started in 2022 only, defined its friendship with Russia, that is called as friendship without limits. Now, what does this China wants to highlight over here? It is obviously increasing its partnership with Russia or its engagement with Russia. Like China has also benefited by buying a lot of Russian crude available presumably by us at a discount. Trade has gone up between both these countries since 2022. Russia's economy, as predicted by the West, would suffer, but it is not suffering. In fact, it is booming right now. And that is why Russia has a momentum also right now. In strategic terms, China has been a gainer because the US has been distracted from the Indo-Pacific. Indo-Pacific is that zone where USA wants to grill China, and USA has this threat from China because China is the second fastest growing or second largest economy right now. USA is the largest, and China's intentions in the Indo-Pacific, specifically South China Sea, we all know about that. So this USA has been distracted in this war, which is giving China a free hand to do its tactics or practice its tactics. Now, what is happening in Ukraine and Gaza keeps US away from Indo-Pacific and its containment policy of China, which Beijing would be quite happy about because it is having a free hand. Chalo, we've seen this impact on India and China of these wars. We've seen the connection between these two, the Russia-Ukraine conflict and the Israel-Gaza conflict. Now, how could be the third year of war, Russia-Ukraine war? It is first of all unlikely that Russia intends to take over all of Ukraine. Why? Because Russia has presently taken over, some eastern part of Ukraine, which is Donetsk, Kherson, Luhansk, Mykolaiv, and Zaporizhia. And after taking control of these regions, Russia is saying that he is willing to negotiate. Mr. Putin has said that he is willing to negotiate. Negotiate means, from these territories, some will remain with Russia, some will go to, Ukraine. But yes, there is a strategy attached over here. Like this is Ukraine. This is that Crimea Peninsula. This is Russia. Okay. Now, all these regions are over here. These regions which I told you. Donetsk, Kherson, Luhansk, Mykolaiv and Zaporizhia. Russia has established a land route connectivity with Crimea. This Crimea was annexed in 2014 from Ukraine by Russia. So it has established this land connectivity route to Crimea. So this portion I think Russia will retain according to my understanding, and if it sits to negotiate. Now Ukraine has, given one peace plan. But that peace plan of Ukraine is basically, demanding that we should return to 1991 border. Returning to 1991 border means handing back Crimea also to Ukraine, because Crimea was annexed after 1991, that is in 2014. Obviously, Russia will not agree to this. Putin has said that we should negotiate on whatever we have taken. And probably, as per my understanding, that land route connectivity to Crimea will be retained by Russia. And rest territories may be handed over back to Ukraine. But resorting back to 1991 border, where Crimea was also part of Ukraine, all these regions were part of Ukraine, I don't think so will happen. So, and Russians, if they will sit on the negotiating table, they will definitely want USA to be part of it or NATO countries to be part of it. just to give them a message also that we are sitting on the same table negotiating. Because we in Russia believe that this Russia-Ukraine war is a proxy war against the West, against NATO. There are a lot of grudges among Russians due to the failure or their failure in the Cold War. Maybe they are countering in this way. So this is how we need to understand this. And with this, we come to an end of today's session. We will be meeting you tomorrow now with more such informative news pieces. Till then, you guys keep studying, keep reading, keep writing, and most importantly, keep revising. Namaste. Jai Hind.